Right now, you are surrounded by the hum of electricity and the reach of AI. But on this same planet, there are people who have never seen a wheel, heard of the internet, or looked into a glass mirror. They aren't lost. We are the ones who have forgotten. Today, we are peeling back the curtain of time to find the 10 most isolated tribes on Earth. Before we dive into the unknown, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell. Now tell me in the comments, could you survive a single day without your phone? Let's find out. The Sentinel Island, the forbidden frontier. Our journey begins in the Bay of Bengal at a small, lush speck of land known as North Sentinel Island. But don't let the turquoise waters fool you. This is perhaps the most dangerous beach on Earth for an outsider. Have you ever wondered what it would be like to be completely rejected by a society? For the Sentinel Island, the message to the modern world has been loud and clear for centuries. Stay away. They are widely considered the most isolated tribe in existence, having lived in total seclusion for an estimated 60,000 years. While we track their island via satellites, they look up at our planes and see iron birds from another dimension. They are hunter-gatherers who survive on the island's wild pigs, honey, and fish, using flat-bottomed canoes to navigate the reefs. But what truly sets them apart is their fierce, uncompromising sovereignty. Anyone who dares to set foot on their sand is met not with a handshake, but with a hail of arrows. Remember the tragic story of John Allen Chow in 2018? Despite his intentions, the Sentinelese saw only an invader. They don't want our medicine, our religion, or our technology. To them, we are the ghosts of a world that shouldn't exist. By choosing hostility, they have preserved a prehistoric purity that has vanished everywhere else. They are the ultimate reminder that some parts of the human story are not meant to be shared. The Uncontacted of the Amazon, the invisible ghosts. From the islands of Asia, we fly across the globe to the lungs of the planet. Deep within the Javari Valley of Brazil, beneath a canopy so thick it swallows the sun, live the Uncontacted. Can you imagine existing in a state of permanent hiding? These are not just one tribe, but dozens of small groups who have chosen to become shadows. They are the masters of the invisible life. While we broadcast our lives on social media, these people spend theirs perfecting the art of being unseen. But why do they hide? It isn't just tradition, it's a survival instinct honed by a bloody history of exploitation. These tribes often build communal longhouses called malokas, but the moment they hear the mechanical drone of a chainsaw or a low-flying plane, they vanish further into the green abyss. They leave behind empty huts and cold fires, moving like ghosts to protect their children from the white man's diseases, illnesses like the common cold that could wipe out their entire population in days. To see them from a helicopter is a haunting experience. Men painted in bright red uricum, aiming bows at the sky in a desperate act of defiance against a world they don't understand. They represent the ultimate mystery, a civilization that exists without a digital footprint, without a paper trail, and without any desire to be found. They remind us that sometimes being undiscovered is the highest form of freedom. The Hadzabe, echoes of the first ancestors. Now let's travel to the dusty, baobab-dotted landscape of Lake Eyasi in Tanzania. Here we encounter the Hadzabe, a people who don't just live in the past. They are a living bridge to the very dawn of humanity. While the rest of the world transitioned to farming, cities, and industry, the Hadzabe looked at the world 50,000 years ago and decided it was perfect, just the way it was. They are one of the last true hunter-gatherer tribes on Earth. What is it like to live without the concept of tomorrow? The Hadzabe don't grow crops, they don't raise livestock, and they don't have permanent shelters. They own only what they can carry. When they are hungry, the men track baboons and kudus with bows strung with giraffe sinew, while the women gather tubers and berries. But the most mesmerizing thing about them? Their language. It's a rhythmic tapestry of clicks and glottal pops that sounds like nothing else on the planet. Linguists believe this might be one of the oldest lineages of human speech. In a world obsessed with accumulation and hustle culture, The Hadzabe offer a radical alternative. They don't have leaders, they don't have laws, and they don't have war. They live in a state of pure present, proving that perhaps our ancestors weren't primitive. Maybe they were just more content than we are. Could you survive a day where your only goal was to find honey and sit by a fire with your kin? For the Hadzabe, that is a life well lived. The Himba, the red icons of the Kaukoveld. Let's shift our gaze to the sun-baked, ethereal deserts of northern Namibia. Imagine a landscape so harsh that water is more precious than gold. Here we meet the Himba, a semi-nomadic people who have turned survival into an art form. Have you ever seen a beauty standard that defies everything you know? The Himba women are famous for their striking appearance. Skin and hair coated in a deep, clay-red paste called otjize. This isn't just makeup, it's a sophisticated blend of butterfat and ochre that protects them from the blistering African sun and insect bites. To them, the red hue symbolizes the earth's lifeblood and the essence of beauty. But here's the most fascinating part. Because water is so scarce, the Himba women never bathe with it. Instead, they use smoke baths. They drop aromatic herbs onto hot coals and wrap themselves in blankets, allowing the fragrant steam to cleanse their skin and pores. Can you imagine living your entire life without a traditional shower, yet remaining meticulously clean? Their social structure is built around the sacred fire, okuruwo, which must never go out, acting as a bridge between the living and their ancestors. Despite the growing pressure of nearby towns and curious tourists, the Himba maintain a fierce pride. They sit in the dust of the Kunene region, looking at our modern clothes and gadgets with a sense of calm indifference. For the Himba, the red earth is their skin, and the desert wind is their song. The Korowai, the architects of the sky. Now, prepare your nerves as we head back to the dense, swampy jungles of West Papua, Indonesia. We are looking for a tribe that doesn't live on the ground, but in the heavens. Welcome to the world of the Korowai. Have you ever wondered why someone would build a house 115 feet in the air? Using nothing but stone axes, fire, and rattan vines, the Korowai construct incredible wooden mansions atop the spindly trunks of banyan trees. To reach their front door, they must climb notched poles that would make even a professional rock climber sweat. It's an engineering feat that seems impossible for people who have no knowledge of pulleys or cranes. But the why is even more gripping than the how. For the Korowai, the ground is a place of danger, not just from predators or floods, but from laleo, the malevolent spirits of the forest. By living in the canopy, they create a literal sanctuary between the earth and the spirits. Until the late 1970s, many Korowai were unaware that anyone else existed on Earth besides neighboring clans. They are a society driven by deep-seated myths and a complex belief in witchcraft and spirits. While we build skyscrapers of glass and steel to house our corporations, the Korowai build theirs of timber and bark to protect their souls. As the jungle around them is slowly carved up for timber, these sky dwellers stand as a vanishing testament to human ingenuity in its most extreme and vertical form. The Mercy, the warriors of the Omo Valley. Our journey takes us next to the rugged volcanic hills of Ethiopia's Omo Valley, home to the Mercy. If you walked into a Mercy village today, you might feel a sudden, jarring sense of culture shock. Have you ever seen the iconic clay lip plates worn by the women? This ritual, which begins in adolescence, is a profound mark of identity, social status, and feminine strength. To us, it may look painful or strange, but to a Mercy woman, it is a badge of honor and a symbol of belonging to a warrior culture that has survived centuries of tribal conflict and harsh droughts. The Mercy are not just known for their aesthetics, they are a formidable warrior society. And the men participate in donga or stick fighting, a brutal, high-stakes ritual to prove their bravery and win a bride. They don't measure wealth in bank accounts or stock portfolios, but in the number of cattle they own. A cow isn't just an animal, it's a living currency and a spiritual connection to their ancestors. However, the world is closing in. National parks and massive dam projects are threatening their grazing lands, forcing these proud warriors to navigate the thin line between their ancient traditions and the encroaching modern state. They look at this civilized world with a wary eye, clutching their spears and their traditions tightly. They remind us that beauty and worth are entirely in the eye of the beholder, and for the mercy, and those values are written in clay and cattle. The Chukchi, survivors of the frozen void. From the sweltering tropics, we now plunge into the absolute opposite extreme, the Siberian Arctic. Welcome to Chukotka, a land where the wind doesn't just blow, it screams. Here, the Chukchi people have flourished for millennia in a place where modern machinery often freezes solid and fails. Have you ever wondered how a human being can survive when the mercury hits minus 60 degrees Celsius? For the reindeer Chukchi, the answer lies in a sacred, symbiotic bond with the animal that provides everything: food, clothing, shelter, and transportation. While we rely on complex supply chains and supermarkets, the Chukchi rely on the migration of their herds. They live in yurangas, heavy, dome-shaped tents made of reindeer skins that can withstand blizzards that would flatten a modern house. To them, a reindeer is not just livestock, it is the soul of the tundra. They use every single part of the animal, from the marrow in the bones to the sinew for thread. But it's not just about physical survival, it's about a mental toughness that we, in our climate-controlled lives, can hardly fathom. They possess a spiritual map of the stars and the snow, navigating whiteouts where there are no landmarks. In the eyes of a Chukchi elder, our civilization is fragile, dependent on a power grid that could blink out. They, however, are beholden only to the rhythm of the ice and the breath of their deer. And they are the ultimate proof that the human spirit is the most adaptable technology ever created. The Asmat, the soul carvers of the swamp. We return to the labyrinthine coast of New Guinea to meet the Asmat, a tribe whose name once struck fear into the hearts of explorers. For decades, they were known to the outside world as fierce headhunters and cannibals, most famously linked to the mysterious 1961 disappearance of Michael Rockefeller. But if we look past the sensationalist headlines, we find a culture of profound artistic and spiritual depth. Did you know that for the Asmat, wood carving is not a hobby, but a bridge to the afterlife? They believe that humans are essentially walking trees, and their intricate bystuples are carved to house the spirits of the deceased. When an Asmat artist picks up a tool, he isn't just making a sculpture, he is performing a ritual to maintain the balance of the universe. Their lives are dictated by the tides and the sago palm, which provides their staple food. Even though headhunting has long since been abandoned, the warrior spirit remains etched into their art and their music. They live in a world where the line between the living and the dead is paper thin. While we preserve our history in digital archives and cloud storage, the Asmat preserve theirs in the grain of the wood. Their culture reminds us that art is not a luxury. It is a necessity for the survival of the human soul. To walk through an Asmat village is to walk through a gallery of spirits, where every carving tells a story of an ancestor who is still very much present. The Kayapo, the green warriors of the Amazon. As we head toward the finale of our journey, we return to the Xingu River in Brazil to meet the Kayapo. Unlike some of the invisible tribes we discussed earlier, the Kayapo are very much aware of us, and they are not happy. Have you ever seen a culture that uses the tools of its enemy to save itself? The Kayapo are world-renowned as the guardians of the forest. They don't just live in the Amazon, they are its frontline soldiers. When illegal loggers and gold miners threaten their borders, the Kayapo don't just hide, they organize. They are famous for their stunning body paint and elaborate feather headdresses, but don't let the traditional attire deceive you. These prehistoric warriors are incredibly savvy. They have been known to use drones to monitor deforestation and cameras to document illegal land grabs, bringing their fight to the halls of the United Nations. For the Kayapo, the forest is their pharmacy, their supermarket, and their cathedral. They understand a fundamental truth that we often forget. You cannot eat money, and you cannot breathe gold. Their culture is a masterclass in resistance. They show us that being traditional doesn't mean being helpless. They are the bridge between the ancient past and a sustainable future, proving that the most effective way to protect our planet is to listen to the people who have been its stewards for 10,000 years. The Dani, Rituals of Grief and Ancient Echoes. For our final stop, on we trek into the mist-shrouded Balium Valley of West Papua, a place so remote it was discovered by the outside world only in 1938. Here, the Dani people live in a landscape that feels like a lost Eden. Have you ever considered how a culture processes the deepest of human emotions, grief? For the Dani, sorrow isn't just felt, it is physically etched into the body. In a tradition that has shocked and fascinated outsiders for decades, Dani women would historically undergo ikapalan, the ritual amputation of a finger segment upon the death of a close relative. While it sounds harrowing to our modern sensibilities, to the Dani, it was a profound physical manifestation of emotional pain, intended to appease the spirits of the restless dead. Though the practice is now largely banned and fading with the older generation, the scarred hands of the matriarchs tell a silent, powerful story of a world where the community's bond is stronger than the individual's comfort. But the Dani are also master farmers and engineers, having cultivated sweet potatoes in sophisticated irrigation systems for centuries. They are famous for their mummy elders, ancestors preserved by smoke who sit in the communal huts as if they never left. The Dani don't see the past as something behind them. They see it as a living presence sitting right next to them. In a world that prizes the new and painless, the Dani remind us that our scars, whether physical or emotional, are what truly define our history. As we leave the Balium Valley, we must ask, who is truly civilized? These 10 tribes aren't stuck in the past. They've mastered the earth with a precision our technology can barely grasp. From the sovereign isolation of the Sentinelese to the mental peace of the Hadzabe, they aren't trailing behind us. They are walking a different path entirely. If these cultures vanish, we lose a piece of our own identity and the blueprint of human survival. As you return to your world of high-speed internet and AI, remember the tree houses of the Korowai and the red clay of the Himba. They are the mirrors of mankind, showing us what we once were and what we may need to become again if our modern world ever fails. Ultimately, civilization isn't measured by what we build, but by what we choose to preserve. So, which path would you choose? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching.